when during the Easter
they're immune.
They are very okay. Easter services in churches also, they're always given a platform to speak.
Oh, yeah.
And you look at someone, it's very okay.
That is why I'm telling you, we have glorified the corrupt. Now,
wow.
Even that conviction that what I have done is wrong is not there.
It's not
People
there,
have sold their minds. It is now fine with them, An MP will comfortably take the 100 million and then will go to a district or his constituency and will find school children have no shoes, they have no, food at school, and they are comfortable. So that is how far the country has come with corruption. That is the effect of corruption, because the country is suffering. The citizen is suffering at the expense of this one politician. And by the way, most of these monies, usually, because this is supplementary budgets,
yes.
So most of the supplementary budgets are usually funded by loans. Most of them are usually funded by loans. And guess what? It is me and you who are going to pay this loan. And yet we did not get the education, services. The National Planning Authority did a study sometime and recommended that at this level, for us to develop, capitation grant, for example, for UPE should now be at 63,000 per child or per pupil. But do you know how much we still have? We still are sending 20,000 per pupil for capitation, and the MPs are busy enjoying 100. Yes. So I think it's important that we rethink. We rethink as MPs. We rethink why we are in this parliament. We are supposed to be holding our public servants accountable. They are our leaders. They are our watchdog, as a country. But if they cannot come out and account to the country, then I do not know where we are headed.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. How widespread is corruption in the country, both in public and private sectors, according to you?
Oh, corruption is it's within the fabric of society itself. People live and breathe corruption. Corruption is so widespread that you will go everywhere, even at the household level. You will find corruption. At the community level, in the various institutions. Right now we are putting the parliament in the spotlight, but go to all government institutions, ministries, departments, agencies. I mean, just to sum it up, the IG report, by the way, that report is now like, our reference point. It's like the Bible now. When we want to speak about corruption, who doesn't want to first talk about the 9.4 trillion, close to 10 trillion per year, if we are losing that in corruption. And then again, that is what they could, pick out. But there is so much that is still hidden. But of course, we know that the 9 trillion is both financial, in cash and in kind. So corruption is so widespread in this country, and both in the private and public sectors. I told you, it has become so systematic, it has become endemic, that now even the corrupt have become sophisticated. They work in as they link together different government agencies, but also with the private sector.
Okay.
Yes, and so we see hemorrhage of a lot of funds that is lost to corruption.
Now, if we look back, where are we heading? Is corruption decreasing, or it is on a rampant increase?
Well, for our case, I would say corruption is increasing. Corruption is increasing. With the Inspectorate of Government report coming out, I don't think we had ever had a study that gives us that figure. And why it is increasing, I mean, sometimes you don't even need the statistics to show you. You just look, and you just see corruption everywhere. The corrupt have become so emboldened. They are so, courageous now. and they are coming out, in public, very bold. But why has it become so widespread, or seemingly widespread? Is because we have not done enough. We have not done much in as far as fighting corruption. We have hoodwinked the public, but also the world, to believe that we are fighting corruption, while at the back of it we are busy promoting corruption. And so how have we hoodwinked them? With the very good laws and institutions, those ones we are always talking about, But why is the corruption increasing? It is because we want people to believe, at the face of it, that we have the fight against graft, by the horns, so that while they are not watching, then the corruption is busy taking place. And so you'll find that while corruption has always been there, of course, but with the earlier scandals, when we came up with when the NRM government came into force, they had the zeal, they had the passion, and that's why I think they created these very good laws. They put in place the very good laws and the institutions. Then comes the restructuring and privatization, and then you had public servants lose their jobs in the 90s, and then as they were losing their jobs, they would just go with whatever they could find. If they say we are selling off family TV, Luke will say, oh, since I'm not getting anything, let me just go with a laptop that I'm using, even when it belongs to family TV.
Okay.
So when the country did not take that seriously, when they let Luke, sorry for using you as an example, but when they let Luke go with this laptop, and many others go with vehicles, because this is corruption, then that kept growing. Then you had the bigger scandals, the Temangalos, the Valley Dams, quite a number of them, Chogam and etc. And all these culprits walked away scot-free. Even those that had gone to court and were convicted and found guilty, we saw the country say, no, leave them alone, after all. And then later we see the head of state, who is supposed to be the fountain of honor, coming out and being, publicly saying, leave the corrupt, leave the corrupt. They are investing in the country. And so because of that, you'll find those that have been corrupt will continue, and they will not hide. They'll now come out and practice the corruption publicly. But even those that have not been corrupt will engage in the vice because they don't see any action. There's no punitive action that is taken. Wow. So corruption is rampant. Yes.
It is rampant.
It is.
It is increasing. Quite unfortunate.
Yeah.
But well, we're going to take a short break, and when we return, we're going to be seeing how you and I can be able to fight this voice. What is your role as a citizen? What is my role as a citizen as well? So that is what we are going to be discussing. So please stay on, but we go for a short break.
Issues at hand. This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. issues at hand.
Welcome back. We are discussing matters of corruption, and now it is important you also know how you can be involved, because remember, as Christine informed us, there are different kinds of corruption. Do not think the 100 million is the only way of corruption. Even you out there, you could be corrupt in one way or the other, but of course we are going to see how you and I can be part of the eradication team to ensure that poverty is no more, or at least it reduces in the country. Now, before we go to these measures, I wanted to understand, Christine, about the factors that continue to fuel corruption in this nation.
Okay. First and foremost, I think citizen apathy has continued to fuel corruption. When the corrupt are stealing, citizens are watching. They are watching, and when there's no action, when the citizens keep quiet, then the corrupt become powerful, and they continue. But two, the institutions, the accountability institutions that are supposed to fight corruption have become powerless. They have become powerless. They cannot fight corruption. They cannot bring the corrupt to book, or at least some of the corrupt, who we usually call the big fish. So if you cannot be touched even by the institutions in this country, then you're a big fish. So the selective prosecution of the corrupt has continued to fuel corruption, but also the citizens. Citizens are fueling corruption. Some of them do not know that they are fueling corruption. When you demand a bribe, because it takes two to tango. Corruption, for corruption to take place, there are usually two parties involved.
Yes.
You have the giver and the receiver. And so when you demand, maybe that your MP, for example, you demand that maybe they give you something, where is the salt, where is the soap? And it is ridiculous things that we are, When you are demanding that, you're corrupting them, because they are not supposed to get money from their pocket and give you and deliver the service to you. That cannot be sustainable. Rather, demand of them as an institution, these services are not being delivered because you are paying taxes. So your demands should be to Parliament to improve the services, but not to give you as a person, So that is how we are encouraging and fueling corruption. When we see corruption taking place and we look the other way, then it will continue to grow. So the citizens, the duty bearers, we all have a role that we have played in as far as fueling corruption is concerned. I was also reading somewhere, and I saw again in Parliament, I'm sorry, but really our Parliament has become that. It's like it has become, an example, which is a bad thing, an example of corruption. So there were whenever officials from different ministries, departments and agencies appear before these committees, PAC, COSASE, and you see them being grilled. Unfortunately, the MPs, we are not grilling them like that. I wish we had an opportunity. But whenever they are going to sign on those reports, the committee reports, there are allegations that before they append their signature, they're actually asking, so what are we getting? I am not appending my signature for free. Where is the envelope? I mean, what kind of corruption is that? It is rote. It is absurd, MPs soliciting money from the Human Rights Commission. Remember, let's inflate the budget so that we have something. And yet you're supposed to legislate for us. So as citizens, we feel we have lost hope. Our August House, which is supposed to look out for the citizen, has decided to, throw in the towel. And so we feel like we are alone. Yeah, so we feel there's so much that needs to be done for us to root out this corruption. But this can only be done by the citizen. Yes,
And
if
I
the
think-
citizens continue to keep quiet, if they continue to demand bribes, I mean, your leaders can only be as good as the community or the society that they come from.
Okay.
So even when they are receiving these envelopes, perhaps they're even the ones who are pushing for them. It speaks so much of the society that they are coming out of. So it's important that we build integrity within the youth, the young generation, because I mean the old generation has gone.
Yeah, Sure. And
old-
are we corrupt? Are the young people corrupt?
Oh yes, the young people, they are not as corrupt. You see, the young people have become corrupted by the generation now that is in, because the young people have grown up seeing all this, you know. There's no hiding corruption anymore. I mean, we go to schools. Someone was sharing a story that we found quite interesting and showing the level of corruption in this country. So they went to a primary school, and the head girl was in P4. The rest of the prefects were in P7, and so they were saying, you mean you do not have leaders in the upper classes that
Oh
can
my
take on the
God.
mantle?
Wow.
And you know what they said? No, that one had the money. You know, that one had the money. So it speaks so much to the generation that we are raising.
Yeah.
If we show them that when you have the money, everything goes in your way, goes in your favor,
That's what they'll go.
we are headed for doom as a country.
All right.
Yeah.
Now let's look at the roles. Can we put down the roles of the citizen, what they are supposed to do or not, to make sure that we collectively end corruption?
Yeah, so the citizen perhaps has the biggest role to play because at least I know the last time I checked, our constitution says all power belongs to the citizen, and that is the first article. So as citizens, we need to embrace our role and know the power that we have. I know most of them will ask, how are we going to exercise this power? You will not go as an individual and go to parliament, for example, and demand the resignation of some MPs, or no, that will not work. We need to rise up as a country, as citizens, and demand that our taxes are put to good use. Start with your area MPs, for example. Do not vote whoever is giving you a bribe. You know, let them give out the bribes, but you will know them. You know, when they give the bribes, then you know that one is not going to be interested in your well-being, in service delivery for you. And so it is very important that the citizen is at the center of this.
Okay.
One, you must demand for service delivery. Two, do not take bribes, because you will be bribed. Someone will always, you know, entice you and, you know, for you to do something. But please don't. If you reject, if someone comes and gives me a bribe, perhaps to give them a job, and I say no, then that one will go, and trust me, the next time this gospel will spread. This one will say, no, that one doesn't take bribes. And so if that continues, if that is what we are known for, then I don't think the corrupt will continue coming up. So that is partly the role that we have to play as citizens in the fight against corruption. But also, you must be a watchdog wherever you are, because the service delivery centers where we live, these are the points that we use on a daily, the schools, the roads, the hospitals, and etc. So if you find something is wrong, don't turn the other way around, you know. Just come and demand. Ask your leaders. Ask your leaders. Information is available on what to do, on what is supposed to be done. Government has produced what we call the service delivery standards, you know, what you're entitled to as a citizen, because of course you pay taxes.
Oh, yes.
So if government has said this hospital is supposed to have 8 health workers and you find only 1 or 2, then go and ask, go and demand, so that there's explanation. So I think it's very important that the citizen is active, because that is their role. You're supposed to be active and put government to account, you know, demand, ask. If you don't ask the questions, they'll also keep quiet, you know, and that is a breeding ground for corruption.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And now, looking at the laws, the anti-corruption laws, or those preventives that we have, are they enough, or are they effective in our country?
I think they are enough in themselves. Whether they are effective is another thing.
Oh.
Yes, if they were effective, then I think the level of corruption in this country would be really low. Because, and why they are not effective? Because they are good. Some people always tell us that Uganda has come up with the best laws, and these have been implemented in Rwanda. I don't know how true that is. So one of the biggest hindrances to implementation of these laws is that we have, whether intentionally or unintentionally, decided to not resource adequately the institutions that are supposed to enforce these laws. You look at the various institutions, accountability institutions, Inspectorate of Government, ODPP, and many others, and the resources that they are given to implement these laws are quite, you know, are inadequate. They are simply not enough.
Okay.
And so that is why the laws themselves would be effective. They are good. The institutions are there. One, they are inadequately resourced. But two, and which I think is also most important, is that their power has been usurped by the executive. Again, we go to the separation of powers. Okay. You have the executive, you have the judiciary, and you have the legislature. Those three institutions are supposed to check excesses, especially of the executive. But now it has gone the other way around. Now the executive has decided to swallow them up, not by force, but they have willingly accepted to be swallowed up. So you'll find that the judiciary cannot be independent. There are cases that, you know, you simply cannot handle, cannot manage, you know, even when you want. Parliament, I mean, you see what is happening in Parliament. They cannot put their foot down and say, no, we cannot, maybe, for example, pass this budget. We cannot pass this supplementary, because you're bringing a budget of 72, I think, 71 point something for this coming financial year. Yes. And you know, as Parliament or as our approvers, you know, that the URA might or might not even collect 33 trillion. So where will the balance come from? And well, they'll tell us the balance will come from loans, which is okay. But how are we going to pay back those loans when you're eating the money now? You know, you're not investing.
Every year we keep paying.
Yes, you know, if you have to pay back, loans are not bad. But are you borrowing to invest? Even at personal level, do you borrow to consume or do you borrow to invest? And then, you know, we shall see later whether you invested wisely or you consumed the money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where you get into problems. Yeah.
Well, what hope do you see for Uganda to win the war against corruption?
Oh yes, there is hope. There is a lot of hope, but this hope can only come from one, those in power themselves. The politicians, you know, what we talk about, what we usually call political will, and this is at the apex of our leadership. We need to see the president come out and take action. He has to reverse whatever he has the wrong impression he has put out there in the public, especially with the statements that he makes, do not touch them. Then the IG comes and says the big fish run to the president and you can't touch them. All these really, they reflect bad. They reflect poorly on us as a country and our fight against corruption. When we see the president, for example, come out and take action, cause the arrests. We've seen him say, no, arrest this one. Now he's not going to defend the former trade minister. Let her go now, Sure. Maybe KCCA, that Chitezi issue. We do not want, though, to see what again we call the small fish, or we want to see these actions across,
Yes.
If maybe a minister has been involved in this, we want to see them taken, If, for example, they say maybe Mike Mukula, just as an example, if they say Sam Kutesa has been involved, we want to see action that is uniform across board for all these individuals.
Okay.
That is when we shall know that we have hope in fighting corruption. But also the citizens, again, like we said, we need to raise awareness. We need to do a lot of advocacy. I know we do advocacy. But this will go even further if we are united, if so many people or so many institutions are practicing what they preach. Because we have seen, you go out and you're saying, you see, when you encounter a case of corruption, just before we came on air, someone was calling me and reporting an incident of corruption where he was applying for a job and they were asking for him to pay 2 million and etc. And so sometimes you tell them, no, but you have institutions, you have the Inspectorate of Government, these are their helplines, toll free. And then they'll tell you, but we do not see them working. We don't see, you report and that is it,
Okay.
And sometimes these institutions are also tied, their hands are tied because, of course, of orders from above. But also sometimes we see some of them involved in corruption. Yeah, so we need to renew our hope as citizens. We need to speak to the citizenry. They need to wake up, because I know, because the corruption has become rampant and the leaders are not doing much, and so citizens have decided to take the back seat. After all, what can I do? But that shouldn't be the path that we take.
Yes.
Otherwise, as anti-corruption activists, since 1999, like I've told you, would have decided to throw in the towel, because we've said the corruption is actually increasing. Whether it's actually increasing or it has decided to come to the fore is another thing. But we can't give up. We can't give up hope.
Sure.
We only have one country. You're Ugandan, you will live in Uganda, and the country will stay.
That's right.
So I think it's important that we wake up as citizens and decide to fight corruption, but not individually, and responsibly. Sometimes, while there are quite a number of forms you can use and methods and strategies to fight corruption, some of them are confrontational.
Okay.
Some of them are, you engage in dialogue, but you must make sure that you're safe as you engage with the different duty bearers, ministries, even the private